Let's kind of start here. I want to go back to 1992. Let's talk that unconscious touchdown against Michigan. An unbelievable run. You broke, I think, 6 tackles on the way to the end zone, that 20-yard gain. When you look at that play and you see yourself fall over the end zone, what do you feel in your stomach every time you see that highlight?
Well, it's hard to. It doesn't seem like it's me. I mean, I don't remember the play after it happened. Actually after the game, they asked me about it, and I didn't remember it, so I didn't really know until the next day when we watched film, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty nice run.
Cierre Wood has been nothing short of phenomenal since he got the ball first at Notre Dame. Had 1,000 yards of the year last year, the first since Darius Walker. I don't remember in a long time seeing a running back with vision like him at Notre Dame. When you watch Cierre play, what are your thoughts on him, and how do you feel he can improve this year from his last season's 1,000-yard season?
Well, the biggest thing for Cierre is just consistency in his play. The kid is a phenomenal player. I remember him coming out of high school, and the one transition he had to make and when he made it, it really, he kind of took off, was when he stopped running as a high school runner, because in high school you can outrun everybody. When you make it Division I college football, that's not the case. So once he stopped trying to outrun everybody and thinking he can outrun everybody to the corner, that made a big difference with him and his ability to start using that vision and running between the tackles. And I think that was the biggest improvement for him from his sophomore to junior year, was his ability to run better between the tackles and the patience needed to set up the blocks. You give it some time to allow it to develop, and he definitely got better in that area as well. So the thing I would say is for him to continue to have a strong year or strong career this year is continue to be better out of the backfield and pass protection. That's always going to be a staple for any back. And
all right, remind our listeners, we're talking with Notre Dame football legend Reggie Brooks, who still holds a Notre Dame career record for yards per carry at 7.6, and his 1992 season was the third best rushing season in Notre Dame history. We have 3 sets of brothers currently on the Notre Dame roster: Atkinsons, the Golicks, and the Martins. And you played with your older brother, Tony. I wanted to ask you, what are some of the pluses and minuses of having a sibling out there on the college football field?
Well, the pluses are many, but the not so great things are the fact that you're still a little brother. It's always better for the older brother than it is for the little brother, because you're kind of following the footsteps, and you tend to get ribbed pretty good. I know Tony was a couple of years ahead of me, so I had to take my lumps coming in, and he was the main one dishing out the lumps. So that was always a tough part of it. But just having family close and someone that can kind of take the edge off when things are going rough and you kind of miss it home. Those early years, a sibling can be a big plus, in helping you kind of make it through those rough times. But, I love my brother, and like I said, we're still real close. We still live pretty close together. He's right up there in Michigan, northern Michigan, southern Michigan. So it's always good to see him. But I always give Mike a hard time and make sure he doesn't pick on Jake. And George is a few minutes older than Josh, so I tend to side with Josh. I'm always going to side with the little brother.
I understand that. Well, who gets the win? Because you got a Heisman finish, 5th in the Heisman, but the older brother's got the national championship. So who wins that battle in the family locker room?
Oh, the championship wins hand down. I mean, that always trumps everything. Championships always trump everything else. So, and it was, one of the things I'm also the administrator for our track and field program. So I've it's been a great deal having Josh and George run, as well as Bennett Jackson. So we won the indoor championship for the Big East. So they don't, neither one of them have bragging rights yet until they win a national championship with football. So right now they're even for all sets of brothers. So I didn't get the championship, but I did get a little Heisman love, and that was nice. But again, would have given it up in a heartbeat to win the national championship.
Well, I wanted another question. You grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Booker T. Washington High School. How much of an effect did your brother have on you deciding to go to Notre Dame, or was it a lot of the other factors involved in the school?
Well, I think the biggest thing, because on my recruiting visit, I barely saw my brother. You know, I was mostly with a lot of the younger guys and guys, Dorsey Levins was on my recruiting visit with me. And, I was hanging out with Rocket and Derek Brown and a lot of those guys. So I didn't see a whole lot of my older brother. I knew he was there, didn't see him, but I heard he was around. So that the factor was there because I knew he was there, so it was the comfort level. But, them just coming off the national championship. And the biggest thing to me that really stood out were the people at Notre Dame and just how much they cared, not just the football program, but the people and the professors, the administration. You're getting to see a lot of those different individuals and how that university takes care of its athletes and just its students in general. So the alumni base was great, but just being there, it is truly a special place. So having the opportunity to play there was and always will be a star moment for me, and a lot of it has to do with the people. And, when people talk about the spirit of Notre Dame, the spirit of Notre Dame are the individuals that come through there and that work there because they genuinely care about the students and, their well-being.
I love hearing that kind of stuff. And moving kind of on with also part of the recruiting would obviously have been head coach Lou Holtz. We always like to ask his former players, what is your memories of him and kind of how he affected your college career, maybe your post-college career?
Well, playing for him, you can't stand it. I mean, he was one tough SOB. And I will say this, he was very upfront about it. We came in as freshmen. He let us know early on, you're not going to like me, but when you leave here, you're going to thank me. And at 18 years old, that didn't really make a lot of sense. But now I talk to Coach Holtz on a consistent basis. Love him to death. Actually, he's going to be one of the honorees at the Dick Vitale Foundation Gala next month, and I'm going down there just to support him because he's done such a outstanding job, and he's still an ambassador of the university. He'll always be the Notre Dame head football coach in my mind.
Oh, let's move into a little talk about the football. What is your thoughts? There's been a lot of hubbubaloo and chit-chat about the whole running back / slot wide receiver combo position. And as a guy that played under Lou Holtz in the flanker position where you took handoffs and you caught passes and you were lined up in the slot on one of the biggest catches in Notre Dame history, does you kind of chuckle that you think it's really not that big of a deal because that's the way it's always been?
Well, it really isn't. I mean, if you think of the evolution of the game, I mean, with everything moving toward a passing phase, the running back has to be a complete back, running, blocking, catching. He has to do it all. So, I mean, it's just a natural progression, and it just makes sense with, the slot position being, that dynamic, space individual, the one that, you want to get in space and get the ball quickly, giving them different opportunities. And, prime example of a guy that did that, and, back when I played Rocket, I mean, we moved him all over the place, and just that versatility. And it also makes it difficult for, defenses if you got a running back that can line up in the slot and go out and catch passes and run, solid routes. It makes it more difficult if you can, shift into a two-back set and then jump out to a one-back set with the the second back becoming a receiver. It makes it difficult for, defenses to line up and play you because most defenses kind of line up from a personnel standpoint. So it puts a lot of pressure on defenses to make the call that we need to get in a run set, or do I need to make a run call or a pass call? And it really puts a lot of pressure on the defense. And it's just a natural progression in my mind. And I really don't think it's going to be that big of a shift. I mean, because you got a great running back coach that coached receivers last year, and Tony Alford, going back to running backs and take on that position. So I think it's going to be a natural and comfortable progression for the backs. I think the biggest thing that the backs that didn't play slot that they're going to have to think about is route running. That's not always a strong suit. So if you can adapt to that, which, Riddick has, and I think Amir Carlisle, he kind of fits that mold of that slasher, more, space runner. And then you add Cierre Wood in the mix, which I think he can be a very good receiver because he makes it difficult from a size standpoint as well. He's not a small guy, and to be able to line him up in the slot, that's going to make it difficult to you when you're going to put a safety or a linebacker on him. He's too fast for linebackers and a little too strong a lot of times for a lot of safeties or nickelbacks.
Yeah, I found it really interesting you brought up Rocket Ishmael. I think one of the years that he had 40 rushes, and all everyone really thinks about him is as a wide receiver in that offense and what he did with the pass catcher. Great example. You kind of walked into what I was going to ask you next. As far as that change, and is there anything or any players you're specifically looking for in the spring game or in this coming in the fall that are going to be in that role that you're excited about, or someone maybe in the recruiting class who I saw you break down that you're excited to see where they fit into the offense?
I'd say George Atkinson, because he's a running back, but he was a more upright runner. And I think, moving him out to the slot and his speed is going to put a lot of pressure on defenses, getting him down the middle of the field. And I think it's really going to open it up for Tyler Eifert, because that's the guy that you're going to see a lot of focus on him as the pass catcher. But if you can get a vertical stretch on that defense and getting a guy like George Atkinson on the field and, getting the ball in his hand and just letting him get out in space and use his speed, I think he's definitely someone to watch in that position because he's, lines up as a back. But, just seeing him out in space and how he handles that slot receiver position will be very interesting to see and, what they do with him because of the dynamic of speed that he has.
What were the depth chart and, practices like and the battles to try and get playing time on those squads when you were there?
Well, I think that's the thing that, Notre Dame needs to get back to, and I think that's, from a recruiting standpoint, that's what Coach Kelly and his staff is trying to get, is that depth and the competition. That's the most important thing. If you feel comfortable in your starting position, that's not a good thing. Being comfortable is not a good thing in college athletics, in particular football. If you have someone pressing you to push you to step your game up, which that's what it was for us. I mean, we had a pretty dynamic backfield, and my senior year, we had myself, Jerome Bettis, and Rick Meyer. But, every day in practice, Coach Holtz had no problem of, saying if we didn't get it done in practice, he'd snatch us out and throw, Lee Beck and Ray Zellers and Kevin McDougal in there, and they'd go in and not miss a beat. And we're sitting on the sideline, on the sideline. We're like, no, this is not going to work. So it forces you to play at a high level every day. And, the competition on both sides of the ball was fierce, but it just made us a better team. And I always said our scout team defense is probably the second best defense in the country.
Well, Reggie, I want to say it's just been such an honor to have you on, and we thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you.